Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy and other conservatives are blasting the New York Times for what they said was a hit piece on Duffy and his family.
The piece is titled "The MTV Reality Star in Trump's Cabinet Who Wants You to Have More Kids." The opening line reads, "Sean Duffy would like you to watch his family making pancakes."
Throughout the article, there is constant allusions to Duffy wanting to put his life on display. This has sparked Duffy's daughter, journalist Evita Duffy Alfonso, to accuse the Times of making it seem like the Transportation Secretary is using his kids as props when he isn't. An example of this, for instance, reads, "Like Mr. Trump, who also crafted his image on reality television, Mr. Duffy understands what will get people to turn on a show and keep watching." Another reads, "For years, Mr. Duffy, who declined to comment for the story, put his life as a dad on display to win Wisconsin voters. Now he is using his Insta-ready family to send a message to young, single people across the country. If you want to be happy, if you want to be successful, if you want to have children."
The piece chronicles Duffy's time on the reality TV show The Real World and how his behaviour has seemingly changed significantly. It also details Duffy's Catholic upbringing, his time in Congress, and his past comments emphasising the importance of having children. The Times details how Duffy signed a memo that pledges to prioritise transportation funding to places with higher birth rates and marriage rates. And the Times notes that some Democratic senators have called this deeply frightening and disturbingly dystopian.
Duffy wrote on X that he was focused on doing his job and to let the NYT goof off. He also alleged the reporter asked him if he considered aborting one of his daughters. Others came to Duffy's defense as well. Editor of commentary John Podhoretz wrote, "I've read some vile caricatures of conservative politicians in my life, but never one quite as slimy and repellent as this bizarre hit job on Sean Duffy, who's apparently a criminal guilty of having 9 children and thinking that's a good thing."
Meanwhile, on Blue Sky, some users believed the Times was too friendly to Duffy. For instance, one user, who is a professor, wrote, "The New York Times used to do journalism, not so much anymore." I don't know who our anonymous professor is there, but I don't also like John Podhoretz with that kind of language. Who are these snowflakes on the right, Robby, who can't take just a normal journalistic enterprise inquiring into Sean Duffy's communication strategies, his stated desire that people should have more children, the fact that he's now Transportation Secretary in the Cabinet of the United States. I read the piece after reading some of the commentary to investigate what horrors lay there, and I didn't see any horrors. It seemed a perfectly legitimate piece to me.
So I certainly would not say it is the slimiest or most repellent hit piece I've ever read in the New York Times, because I've read a lot of such things. What I think it is, there was something insidious about it. I don't think it was a terrible piece, and I think some of the criticism of it was a little bit overblown. I found it interesting and informative about his life, which I mostly knew the story of his life and how he met his wife on this reality TV show from the MTV days. And
one of the first reality TV shows.
Yes, and what seems to be the case, and that the piece mostly explores, is that he was kind of a party boy, and that was at least how he's portrayed on camera, and it was kind of true behind the scenes. And he met his wife, and they fell in love, and they got married, and had 1 million kids, and have a pretty happy family. And he works in the administration, and she's a Fox personality. He was a Fox personality, and that's the story. The piece has a kind of insidious, as if they were trying to find the hypocrisy or but what he's really like behind scenes. They wanted to find some way to portray him negatively and they came up with nothing. They're just a nice, happy family. They think it's good if people have kids. They talk about that. Yeah. They work for the administration, and that's all. And there's no dark undercurrent. Like, they wanted to find some dark hypocrisy, and they failed to do it.
I just didn't get that, honestly. I mean, I get that.
I picked up on it.
I get that people read or watch media coverage through their own lenses, myself included, and with respect, you also, everyone. But I just didn't. This idea that the piece obviously revealed some attempt to sort of nail Duffy, I didn't get at all. I thought it was like, well, there was this guy who first came to some level of public attention on an MTV reality show where he would talk sort of fairly eagerly about sex and things like that. Now he's a Catholic family man. He believes in people having more children as as increasingly a thing on the right, and Elon Musk and all of that is very wedded to that idea. And it was also going into Duffy's communication strategies. One of the photos that was used in the piece was him, I guess, filming himself going into Congress or going into the White House with his wife in the background.
Something a little sneering about it, like it was unusual or weird. And then the broader, probably ideological point is the large family, something that was not strange 30 or 40 years ago to have large families. It is increasingly not so usual, especially for people who live in or who work in elite media, where people tend to have very small families, if they have families at all.
Right.
I think it is, again, I'm charting some middle ground here. I think it is absolutely fine and good for conservatives or whoever to be advocates of people having more kids and having big families and the joy that could bring. We do, read studies, and you can always take these with a grain of salt, but I have seen data suggesting that, for instance, single liberal women are a more unhappy demographic if you look at statistics than other people, and it is fine to talk to them about that. You're not going to. That's the data, and that people maybe think that having really big families is going to be too demanding, and they don't want to do it, and it talks them out of doing it. Now, everyone should do what they want. I don't have kids. It's I don't want to ever be in a do as I say, not as I do.
Sure.
It's not the right choice for everyone. But I think I appreciate conservatives who have nice families, who seem very happy, talking about the benefits of that, not forcing that on anyone, not disdaining anyone else's choices, because we're all different and different choices are fine for everyone, but providing a positive role model. And it's fine to have positive role models for happy, successful, single people, men or women, who are working professional people who are fulfilled by that. That's fine to have role models of that kind in media. We can also have role models of people who have careers and have happy families, Megyn Kelly type people, or anything in between. It's all fine, and I like that. So what's the problem?
Yeah, I don't object to anybody making any argument they wish about where they find happiness in a personal setting or a family setting. Anything between consenting adults is pretty much fine with me, and if that is being in a straight and religiously observant marriage and having 9 kids, that's fine. And if it's being not straight and not coupled up and not having any kids, that's also fine. I don't care. It's an adult choice that anyone can make. I think where it gets more problematic is sometimes whenever a personal preference is raised up as an ideal for everyone, or the ideal to which everyone should ascribe, and I just don't think that's true.
Yeah, that's fine, and also that maybe the role model aspect of this, or the encouragement through demonstration, might actually even be better. That the policies that Nordic countries have experimented more aggressively with policies to actually encourage people on a government policy level to have more kids. They don't work at all. There's not a good track record of them being successful.
And I assume you would oppose that on
I would oppose that on ideological. Right. I don't want to subsidize more. Now, I want to make it easier for people to have larger families, to the extent that a lot of the things that people starting out need in terms of childcare, housing costs, those sorts of things, I would fix that with policy, but my policies are, more getting government out of the way, allowing more development, allowing less licensure, those sorts of things, rather than subsidizing you or paying you to have more kids or providing those kinds of things. That's the policies I want to do.
I mean, naturally, I would be very different than that, and I would have more government provision of childcare and things like that, facilitating mothers who may not, primarily mothers, parents, who don't perhaps have much other support and want to be back in the workplace, and there are all sorts of financial cross currents, I think, that make that unnecessarily difficult, particularly in this country, I would argue.
We've got a lot more to talk about today on Rising. Stay with us.